Hello, welcome back to the Go for Two podcast. I'm Liam, your host, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, who unfortunately has the America blues and is already planning his next trip to the States. That's, of course, Mr. Muggs NFL. Patrick, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, it is the blues. It's been a tough week at work, let me tell you that for certain. Keeping my wallet in my pocket this weekend. Let's have no snap reactions to a bad week.
Eagles win by 35 points or something on Sunday. There'll be a flight booked. I can guarantee you that. We'll see. Cool. We're here to preview Week 5 in the NFL season. We're recording this on Friday. So we have had Thursday Night Football, so we'll chat about that a little bit at the start. We'll talk a little bit about our Week 4 scores, and then we'll go straight into Week 5, and then we should then be on a 2-episode a week review and preview schedule now. We've stopped doing holidays until Patrick ends up in Philadelphia sometime in December, January, or February, who knows. But yeah, let's talk about last night's game. So 49ers versus the Rams, big game on Thursday Night Football. 49ers won 26-23. The game went to overtime. Sean McVay decided to run up the gut on 4th and 1, which was not the greatest decision of his life. Matt Stafford played incredibly well before that as well. But another big win for the 49ers, another big win with Mac Jones under center, mate.
Yeah, what can you say about Mac Jones? Keeps winning football games. And by the way, nearly 350 yards, no mistakes on 49 dropbacks. Mac Jones, that's not the perfect scenario for him, by the way. But yeah, great performance from him, to be honest with you. CMC touched the ball 30 times. Kendrick Bourne went for 142 yards. You know, they've got Purdy out, Kittle out, Jennings out, Pearsall out. For me, this is the actual best win so far of the NFL season, to be honest with you, with the injury list. I was actually a bit sad about this game beforehand because I thought, set up great, it's probably the best Thursday night game of the season, and then the 49ers have got all those injuries, but to come in and get a win, on the road especially, just, yeah, phenomenal win that.
Yeah, great win. On the road, like you said, but plenty of 49ers fans there. Half the stadium looked like it was red when I was watching the this morning. But yeah, they're just playing really well. Shanahan's coaching hard, making good decisions. After one bad week with the kicker, they brought in Eddie Pinheiro, who I think was a Carolina kicker before, and he's coming in and making kicks. And Shanahan's making jokes that he took 20 minutes to come to the locker room and stuff. So the vibes are pretty high. Obviously, they've lost Bosa, and the defensive line got plenty of pressures in this game. CMC, they'll probably want to tone down those touches as the season goes on a little bit when they start getting people back to keep him healthy. But yeah, this is a hell of a win. They go to 4-1, they go to top of the division, and then they send the Rams to 3-2. I thought it wasn't the greatest Rams and Sean McVay performance, to be honest. This is definitely more of a 49ers win than it is a Rams loss, but I was a little bit disappointed with the the third quarter, and then the overtime for the Rams. I just felt like they just didn't play well on offense.
Yeah, and obviously Kyron Williams' big fumble at the goal line in the fourth quarter was just a bit of a killer. But to be honest, I hated. So you watch it back, the 4th and 1 in overtime. It was actually over 2.5 minutes from beginning to having that down to running the play because of a couple of timeouts and whatnot. I was like, and that is what you come up with after a couple of timeouts, a run up the gut. And as soon as the ball was snapped, that play was not there. That was covered. The only thing that was covered was the middle of the field. Anything to the outside may have even got in the end zone because it was just covered. And it's like Salah knew what they was going to call there, because that was that's one of the worst play calls that you'll see, because the play was never there. And it took them 2.5 minutes to decide to run that play. And that, yeah, they'll look back on that with a lot of regret, to be honest.
Yeah, I think, like I said, from the minute the ball was snapped, it wasn't happening. To be honest, I think the minute they were lined up, if you look, all the bodies are already in the middle. Those. Yeah, okay, there's an argument they could drop out, but Salah's not going to do that against Sean McVay. Sean McVay loves to run the football. I think it should just been a little pass to the right or left for Nacua, 2 yards, fall down, get the first down. Yeah, up the gut just didn't work. But you're right, it was definitely a good call from Salah. I thought he had a good game as a DC all night long, to be honest, especially with what he's dealing with lack of pass rush. He was getting pressure wherever he could. They were blitzing the run after Kyron Williams kind of knocked off a couple of big runs. Yeah, Devontae Adams also had a few targets, but I felt like overall the 49ers kept them in the game, and then it was very much dink and dunk, but efficient football from Mac Jones to get the win.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And that really sets up San Francisco now. They're at Tampa next week, but apart from that, really, the schedule looks fantastic. Obviously, they've got the Rams again in about 5 weeks, but remember, they have the easiest schedule, right, in the NFL, and that really is backloaded easy. in the second half of the season. So when you're getting bodies back, they're in a great place, by the way, I think, for the 1 seed, the 49ers in the NFC. I really do. Not saying that I think they're the best team, but it may be the team in the best position to get that 1 seed.
No, yeah, agree. And it was a good win. And, you don't want to take anything away from the win, but just feels like they could be one of those teams where, they've got a great team, easy schedule, they're going to be the 1 seed. Everyone gets injured, everyone's panics, and they're a bit like, oh, could be the season from hell for them. They still win with the injuries. Everyone will start talking about them like a Super Bowl team, and then it gets to the playoffs, and it's like, well, you still need, you need Bosa, you need Ayuk, you need players like that to be healthy, but that's, 12 weeks away, 13 weeks away, so it doesn't really matter right now. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they could knock off some regular season wins. Even if they lose next week, 4-2, the Rams' best record would be 4-2. The Rams' schedule is significantly harder. They'll feel good about themselves in the division, right? Even though the Seahawks also look pretty good.
No, exactly. Obviously, like you said, but the Rams, the wins that they've had this season are underwhelming, I would say. Obviously, they lost to the 2 best teams they played. Yeah, they've beat then the AFC South, which includes Indianapolis, that look a pretty competent football team. But apart from that, Titans and Texans are really both disappointing. I mean, the Titans are absolutely terrible so far, but Houston are really underwhelming. So, just something to keep an eye on, I think, with the Rams is the level of wins that they're getting at Baltimore and then at Jacksonville next 2 weeks. So we could find out even a little bit more about them then.
Yeah, well, they're going to probably get lucky with the Baltimore game in terms of injuries, aren't they? But yeah, it's been a bit of a disappointing couple of weeks. Well, not a couple of weeks. They were good against the Colts, but the week before that, so didn't end the game how they'd like to. Didn't end this game how they'd like to. Sean McVay mentioned it in that Eagles game. They've still got he's got to get more smart, analytically, and aggressive at the right times in the game. Like in that game, he kicked 3 4th and 1 field goals. He went for it. The only time he went for it, he ran up the gut and got stopped. Today, he went for it 4th and 1, ran up the gut and got stopped. He doesn't have that level of Dan Campbell on 3rd and 4th down. I'm thinking it's not that he can't call the right play. He's a great OC. It's managing the game. He doesn't understand it. He's almost a bit too conservative, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he'll need to change that if this team wants to be some of the best teams in the NFC. Cool. Let's move on to the rest of week 5 then. A slightly underwhelming slate, as we were saying before the press record. This was one of the best games by far. There's still a couple of good games that we'll spend a bit of time talking about. And obviously, we've got the first London game as well, which isn't a great game, but we will, as we always do, preview the London game in more detail than the US games. But talk about last week's results. So I won 9-8. The results we had different was you actually got the Dublin game spot on. You went with the Steelers. I went with the Vikings. That kind of killed me a little bit in the early slate. You actually went for the 49ers last week. I went for the Jags. Again, Jags have proven me right so far. We'll see if they do this week. And then for 4 weeks in a row, you picked the Bengals. And you picked them plus 7.5. And I think the last 2 weeks they've lost combined something like 58-13 or something like that. So I feel like my only advice to you would be move off the Bengals going forward, I think.
They got Detroit this week, so there's absolutely not a chance that they're covering.
No, I would agree. And that puts the scores 34 to me. So only a 4-point lead through 4 weeks of the season. So still all to play for. And let's start in order then. Let's go to Sunday. I don't know, where is this game? Wembley or Twickenham?
Spurs. We've
got Vikings, quote unquote, at the Browns. Vikings are favoured by 3.5 points for Carson Wentz under centre. The Vikings are going to be missing 3 of their starting offensive linemen. The Browns defense has played absolutely incredible this season. Wentz was really good against the Bengals, but then struggled a little bit last week, especially in the second half. Actually, I went back and watched the Dublin game when I was on holiday this week, and he was not good in the second half at all. What are your thoughts early on in this game, apart from maybe the London crowd that paid 200 quid a ticket and getting slightly screwed with quality football there?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I put a tweet out the other day because I've actually seen this game before in 2017 at Twickenham, and the quarterbacks were Case Keenum versus Deshaun Kaiser. And I was like, what is worse? Is that worse, or is this worse with Carson Wentz versus Dylan Gabriel? I suppose you'd give it to this one because Dylan Gabriel was making his first NFL start, and that's quite a nice footnote or whatever. But, I do feel for the neutral fans. Obviously, you're fans of the teams. It is what it is. Strap yourselves in. But neutral fans playing a minimum of 200 quid. It's not a great spectacle, is it? But if you appreciate defense, you should see some good defense on Sunday.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, and you should see some sacks and some quarterback hits for sure. It feels like both these quarterbacks are going to get lit up at times in this game. So you're right. We weirdly could see more points like from defenders, like the defensive side of the ball, than the offensive side. If you ignore special teams, like if there's a bet for that, you might win that this week because it feels like the Vikings and Browns can both score points on defense. But you mentioned Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, it's his first start. What do you think about that decision to go away from Flacco, go to Gabriel, and then also any comments on Shedeur of it all?
Shedeur, did you say?
Yeah.
I mean, he was embarrassing the other day doing that miming thing. I was just like, mate, that is not a way to get on an NFL depth chart, number one, is it? Just answer a question, I guess. I guess I know they're riding him on American TV and whatnot, but, just kind of, you got to handle it a bit better than that if you want to see the field. But, yeah, it's what we thought, right? I think if we go back to the season previews that we did at the AFC North, I'm pretty sure I said that the Browns had at least had 4 starters this season. Problem is they got rid of Kenny Pickett after that, so we may be stuck at 3. Because I still think Shedeur's going to see the field.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I really do, but it's a tough place to come in now. I don't know why you wouldn't. In my opinion, if you go in with Flacco at the start of the season, you just ride him because you know what he's going to give you and whatnot. There's nothing shocking that's happened in 4 weeks that we don't know already about Joe Flacco. So it's just like now you're chucking him in. International game against a good defense, good defensive coordinator. Feels a bit odd timing to me, but hey, you got to ride with it. And what's going to happen when they lose the next 4 games? Shedeur's going to get his turn, and the old cycle's going to keep going, right?
Yeah, I think the Flores of it all is probably the worst element of DC. Blitzes a lot, hard to understand. Yeah, if anyone has got any Browns running backs in fantasy football, it's a good week to play them because. Yeah, I know the Vikings are going to try and stop the run, obviously, but they're going to get a lot of touches because it just doesn't feel like you can drop Gabriel back loads of times against Brian Flores. It's going to have to be a very careful run the ball, play action, boot, read option with his legs a little bit coming out of the backfield. It just feels like that's going to be the only way that he can survive against Brian Flores. But you're right. I just don't think for the fans, especially, they could carry on, and the defense maybe they couldn't carry on trotting out Joe Flacco. I just don't think it was gonna help anyone, but they would have preferred to have not had to do it on this game for sure. In terms of the Vikings, Carson Wentz going to start again. Didn't look very good against Pittsburgh. Did look good against Cincinnati, but got a lot of help from the defense, which Vikings offense do we expect to see in this game because the Browns are also very good on defense.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. It's going to look. Steelers played well on defense, by the way, last week until kind of the fourth quarter, but it's going to look ugly, this, because they've got a lot of linemen out, including the center, the guards, starting center are out. Myles Garrett is going to be all over that line, moving himself like a jigsaw piece in every single snap. He's going to be lined up somewhere different. And yeah, he's going to look ugly. I kind of feel for Carson Wentz, really, because in essence, he's having some good kind of drives and then somewhere it looks absolutely terrible. But I think to myself, if you can have 30% good drives in this game, you can probably win with Addison, with Justin Jefferson, with Mason. He needs to stop dropping the ball, by the way. He's been okay, but he's starting to get a little fumbly. But I have more faith in the Vikings offense, probably because of somebody like a Jefferson, that you can make a few good plays on the day. I ain't selling this, by the way, because earlier in the week, try and sell myself. Perhaps I want to get a last-minute ticket, but it ain't happening.
You can't say so on this game, I'm afraid. Do you want to guess what the current points total is for this game?
9.
6.
Ooh,
so close. We're going up. You get under that as well, probably?
Yeah, that is brutal. It's just your defensive touchdowns, like you mentioned earlier, isn't it? That's going to spoil that.
Yeah, if you get a couple of those, that might screw it. But if you don't, and you just get a pick and then going down or whatever 5 yards later, then you should be fine. Cool. The winner of last week goes first, so I'll be going first. It's Vikings at Browns -3.5. This is difficult. Why do I want to go Browns +3.5?
Why not? I quite fancy it as well, to be honest with you.
I'm going to go Browns +3.5. This is where you're going to go Vikings now.
Oh, no, I'm going Cleveland as well. That defense would keep it close. Just don't throw it away on offense. Otherwise, it could be a 2-touchdown game. I'm going to go Cleveland as well. I'd like to see Cleveland win this game, to be honest with you.
It feels like in such a bad game, getting points. It's going to be hard for anyone to score 3 points, it feels like. So you've got yourself a head start. On to the best game in the early slate. This team's always in the best game in the early slate, even though they didn't complete a single pass in the second half last week. And I've seen tweets that they're the bigger 4-0 frauds than last year's Chiefs. It is, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles who are hosting the Denver Broncos. Eagles are favored at home by 3.5. So just over the 3. Now, this is obviously spoiling where I'm going to pick, but I was surprised by that. I thought it'd be bigger than 3.5. They were like, 3 was it to the Rams, I think? I cannot see this current Broncos team with the way Bo Nix is playing being only half a point worse than the Rams. Are you with me on that? Or do you see maybe the Broncos defense is so good that this spread is about right?
No, I don't know. I'm quite surprised at that spread, to be honest with you. Eagles tailored 2 halves really last week where they were pretty exceptional on both sides of the ball in the first half. That was the best. If that's the best version of the Eagles, you can put together a full game, then that's some team to stop. But the second half, no, you can't even talk about it. There was no snaps on offense, and it didn't go anywhere at all. It was quite stressful, actually, to watch, but a lot of playmakers on defense and helped kind of pull out that game. I think the spread should be bigger on this one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, what do you make of so we've missed a couple of episodes of us both being away and stuff. What do you actually make of the Broncos? Now you've sat down, watched a bit more. Obviously, you watched probably more of the games in detail than I did on Sunday. Where are you at with them overall? Because it seems to me that the quarterback's getting a lot of the blame, but is there other stuff going on, or is it kind of just he's taken a bit of a step back like people probably thought he would have last season?
I'm really disappointed, actually. I also don't think the defense looks as good yet. Maybe it's going to round off, but I don't think it looks as good yet that we thought it was going to be, and it did at times last season. Because if you look at all 4 games, the Colts shredded them. The Tennessee Titans in week 1 had a million drops where we should have been moving down the field, and obviously they've gone in the Chargers are a good team, but they went in there and won. Last week, Cincinnati are nothing. So I am quite disappointed overall. And I think it's hard to know with Philadelphia what you're going to kind of get, but I think that we might see the Broncos kind of looking weaker than we thought last season because, Pat Surtain, I saw something on ESPN yesterday saying obviously A.J. Brown's catches are just nowhere this season and they were bigging up Pat Surtain, but he has been shredded this season at times, especially against Indianapolis, and had a good game against Pat Surtain when I've been back and watched it. Not so much last week with Cincinnati, but they've got their own problems. So it's just, Denver's slightly disappointing, and I would say that's why I think the spread is quite odd. But I'm sure that's just because the Eagles' second half offense.
Yeah, the passing offense has not been very good this season. But yeah, I think Bo Nix is part of it. The run game's not been as good either. We thought the run game, we thought Harvey, we thought the interior offensive line would get it going. Yeah, that's kind of failed a little bit so far through it's early, but through 4 weeks. And I think the run game not being strong has then made Nix probably worse because they can't rely on that and play action and boots and use his legs as much as they did last season. So I think that's probably a little bit it. You mentioned earlier, we don't know what we're going to get from Philadelphia. We're definitely getting an AJ Brown tweet. I don't know what he's going to tweet, but he'll tweet something after the game. Probably Surtain. He's absolutely buoyed Surtain off and got 200 yards and 2 touchdowns or something. No, an AJ Brown when it feels like you bench him in fantasy. He'll get 100 yards. Okay, cool. I'll put AJ Brown back in. Okay, no completions in the second half. I'll bench him. Okay, now he scores 2 touchdowns and 120 yards or something this week. But we'll see. Total for this one, by the way, is quite low. 43, quite low for an Eagles game. That's probably to do with the Broncos. It's you to go first for your team. Eagles minus 3.5 at home.
I'm going Eagles, definitely.
The future undefeated Eagles. There we go. I'm going to go for Eagles as well, minus 3.5. I'm really not sure about the Broncos. If they look bad this week, they could be a panic trade team when we get to the trade deadline because Sean Payton thought he had a Super Bowl team on his hands, he said, before the season. So he'll be desperate. On to a game that looked amazing 5 weeks ago, but isn't very good anymore. Texans at Ravens. Cooper Rush starting at quarterback after the Kansas City Chiefs demolished Lamar Jackson.
Is that confirmed now, Cooper Rush is?
Well, he hasn't practiced, and I'm about to tell you a spread that probably confirms it. Texans are favored on the road, 2.5. Yeah, I think he hasn't practiced all week, Lamar. Apparently 2 games is what they think he might miss. I did an incredible trade for him in fantasy football that basically will make me look like a genius if he plays. If his hamstring comes off the bone, I'll look like an absolute idiot. But there we go. Texans favored, mate, on the road. We're not going to spend loads of time on this. Season from hell so far for the Ravens. To be honest, I don't actually know why Cooper Rush is the backup. I think Tyler Huntley is now the third choice he's on the practice squad. Just feels like you should have a quarterback that has a more similar skill set to Lamar so you can run the offense. Cooper Rush couldn't be further from Lamar Jackson, to be honest.
No, he was a standard fit in. He won a few games for Dallas last season, but yeah, it's an odd fit, to be honest with you. They released Huntley, didn't they, in like the summer because he was at the Browns. Is he back on the practice squad?
I think he's back. I think I heard he's back on the practice squad in a pod I listened to this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I mean, if you're saying 2 games, you're talking Texans and Rams both in Baltimore, and that's a real shame if you're a Baltimore fan, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe they can get some injury look back towards the end of the season and kind of get into the wild card situation. But it's an unfortunate situation as a neutral, but then also we don't really know how good that Baltimore would have been anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's just like defensively they were horrible the first half of last season, and that's obviously continued. And I know that the injuries are there, but the DC's getting a lot of flack as well. I know that he's a former Ravens player, and I heard something that they was kind of saying that might be holding him in good stead with Harbaugh at the moment. But it looks like it could be a wasted season, which in week 5, you'd never thought you'd said that about Baltimore. But without Lamar, next 2 weeks, you're looking at a 1-5, and that's a hole to be in, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There's never been a great team under Lamar, under pressure either. Great being ahead of everybody in the North and great being ahead in games, but behind, they've always struggled.
Yeah, I agree. And previous years, the defense has been so good that you think, okay, they could win this game 17-14, like with a bad quarterback. But with this defense, before the injuries and now with the injuries, so in this game, they're going to be without Madubuike, Marlon Humphrey, and Roquan Smith, and Travis Jones. 4 starters at least. There might be 5 starters they missed. Nate Wiggins as well got carted off. I don't know what his situation is. So it's a minimum 5 starters out. Could be 7. The defense isn't good enough to make up for it. So I think that's the problem. And again, this is famous last words, right? But if they're 1-5, even if he comes back in 3 weeks' time, I don't think they'd have enough time to win the game. So I don't think there's enough. They'd have to make a trade on defense because I still think they'd have to score 30 points to win every single game, which is just unrealistic in the NFL. But we'll see. Texans obviously had a big win last week, but have had a pretty underwhelming season. But let's pick the spread. Texans on the road, -2.5. I'm going to go with them. Just can't go with Cooper Rush. If it was a more mobile quarterback, ironically, Shedeur Sanders, after saying that he refused to go to Baltimore because he would never play and he'd already be playing. Yeah, I would think about it. But the fact is Cooper Rush, I didn't love him in Dallas as much as other people did. Obviously, hard to come in last week, but he was a nightmare against like watching him as a Chiefs fan. I was like, we might score 3 touchdowns just from him throwing it to us. So I'm just going to go with Texans on the road, even though they haven't played well. I think it'll be an ugly game, but they'll win by 7 to 10 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go season on the line, by the way, for Houston, because if you're going to lose here, you're 1-4, you're going on your bye. Teams are going to get ahead of you. They come back with Seahawks, 49ers, Broncos, Jags. The season's on the line here. You've got to win. I'll go Houston. Defense has been really good, by the way. The lowest allowed points in the NFL, but the offense has looked evil bad, and it really. Yeah, it needs to look good in this game, or I'd be very worried if it didn't.
Yeah, agreed. I forgot about their record as well. It's definitely, season on the line for them. Off to the AFC then. Raiders at Colts. Colts had that loss against the Rams, who've had obviously a very, very good season. They're favored at home by 6.5 points. And it is you to pick first.
Yeah, I'll go Indianapolis coming off an unfortunate win because obviously they had a touchdown clawed off the board because A.D. Mitchell threw the ball at the back of the end zone, which is just a crime. It happens at least once a season in college or the NFL, and it's just a crime, and that's hard to get yourself down the depth chart. Who knows what would have happened there, but I'm going to go Colts because the Raiders don't look particularly good, and they lost to Chicago last week in Vegas. But Genty had a bit of a breakout. He managed to get a couple of blocks on a couple of plays and took it to the house.
Genty looks better now, which is good. He's changed back to his weird stance where he stands upright.
Yeah, he has.
Bauer's got to get healthy, but yeah, they're struggling. Geno Smith, I love him, but struggling. This could be it for him. We'll see. He just can't stop throwing interceptions. So yeah, I'm going to go for the Colts. Defense looks good. Lou Anarumo's got them playing really well. Daniel Jones on the ground. Jonathan Taylor on the ground. Very, very good. And if yeah, if Daniel Jones plays well in the air again, they're going to be hard to beat. So yeah, I'll go for the Colts as well. What a fun game, interesting game. This is going to be the red zone crazy game, I feel like. Cowboys at the Jets. Cowboys are favored on the road by 2.5 points in MetLife. Big moment for Aaron Glenn. Listened to a pod this week about how he was saying, like, before the season, he was doing all these crazy hype speeches. Now after games, he's monotone and he's like, yeah, we're on to next week. We'll fix it. Feels like the Jets are going down a familiar path to start this season. He's one of 3 head coaches that have started their tenure 0-4. Cowboys get a tie last week because the Packers didn't really have a clue what they were doing in overtime, but the offense looks great. This could be pretty bad for Aaron Glenn, I feel like, if the Cowboys kill his defense in this game without CeeDee Lamb. But it's me to go first. I am going to go Cowboys minus 2.5. I think Dak's playing one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Defense isn't good, but the Jets' offense probably isn't good enough to take massive advantage of it. So I'll go the Cowboys, but I think this will be a crazy red zone game.
Yeah, I'm going Dallas as well. And one thing I said, just like I said about Houston, if the Jets can't get success against this Cowboys defense, and that is a big worry for getting any wins coming up for Aaron Glenn. He's obviously not going to be on the chopping block mid-season, but, the same bad situational football, bad decisions, turnovers, they're all there from the Jets in the last 5 years. It's not really had a culture change yet. It looks like it's going to be a long job, to be honest, in the Jets. So I'm going to go Dallas. I think the offense will shred them.
Yeah, Dak looks so good. CD comes back soon. They're going to be a dangerous team for someone to play either at the end of the year or in the playoffs if they get there. But their defense probably, ironically, needs to trade for a pass rusher. If only they had one 5 weeks ago. On to a game that looks pretty rough. Dolphins at the Panthers. Dolphins favored on the road by 1.5 points without Tyreek Hill. He's going to be out for the season. Terrible looking injury last week. Apparently, wants to come back for next season, but we'll see. I'm glad it's your turn to go first on this one, mate.
I'll go the Dolphins. I think they can beat another bad team in Carolina, to be honest with you, who got whacked by New England last week. That was an embarrassing performance, actually. Maybe the worst. Taking Cincinnati out of the equation, that was maybe the worst performance of the season, to be honest. But so, yeah, I'm going to go Miami. 2-3. Don't call it a comeback.
Panthers have been on both sides of some of the worst performances as well. But
obviously shut out Atlanta.
Yeah, that's so weird. Anytime you can back one of the worst teams in the NFL in our picks contest, you've got to do it. So I'm going to go for Panthers plus 1.5. Bryce Young. I'm going to go with the better quarterback. Just to annoy any Miami fans going. I'm going to go for Bryce Young to win a close one against the Dolphins. And last but certainly least in this slate, this is a battle for maybe the first overall pick. Giants at the Saints. Saints favored at home by 1.5, which means if this was on a neutral field, Vegas thinks the Giants are better. Jackson Dart coming into a second start, clear concussion protocol, which is just hilarious that after one game he's already smashing into people and stiff arming linebackers. I'm going to go for the Dart man. Come on the road. Actually, Spencer Rattler, though. I love Spencer Rattler. I'm going to go for Dart.
Not win yet, has he, in the NFL?
No, this needs to be the game, which is why I feel bad. The one time he might win, I don't pick him. But I'll go for the Giants. Giants plus 1.5. This game's probably going to be ugly.
Yeah, shame about my linked neighbours, by the way, done for the season, isn't it? But you're not convincing me. I'm not picking the Giants. Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo, just the exact pair that we need at 6 p.m. on Red Zone. They were absolutely amazing last week, by the way. That was what a win. The Chargers.
Great win.
For Brian Daboll, by the way, he looked like a man whose job had been saved for a few weeks from Jackson Dart. He was very happy, weren't he? I got a ride with it, so let's go New York, I think.
You can't kill Brian Daboll. You're going to be picking Brian Daboll first coach fired in 2031.
I know, mate. Yeah, 2030. He'll still be winning 3 games a season. Those Saints-Panthers games are looming, by the way. They're going to be the worst of the NFL season. It's unfortunate, by the way, because New Orleans are actually playing pretty hard. You gave Buffalo a game.
Playing all right as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. What did they lose last week? By 14, 15? But that was only
14, but they were right in it all the way through the first half and some of the second.
Yeah, they're better. They feel like better. They're fighting a bit better than some of these bad teams, but they're just not good enough to get a wins. I look forward to Alvin Kamara donning Kansas City Chiefs jersey in a few weeks. On to Sunday, 9 p.m. then. We got some better games in this window. We had one game that should have been really good, which we'll get out of the way first, and then a couple of really good games. So we've got Lions at Bengals. Should have been a good game, but unfortunately isn't. Lions are favored on the road by 10.5.
Yeah.
So they are testing your resolve here if you will continue to pick your Cincinnati Bengals. I wanted you have to go first clearly on this one.
No, it's got to be Detroit, isn't it? Detroit are one of those teams, they're going to decide at half time whether we're going to go for the jugular and win by 50 or we're going to take it easy and just kind of run the ball in simple place to run the clock down. But Detroit will put 50 on you if they want to put 50. So this could look really ugly because Browning, by the way, he has played himself out. Remember when Burrow got hurt, everyone was saying, Browning's a restricted free agent at the end of the season. What's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen, mate. Nothing.
If they have a bad loss here, they could give up something like over 100 points in 3 weeks as well. The defense looks as bad as everyone thought. And I know some of it's on Browning, but the defense also sucks. And have you seen that crazy stat? Like Chase Brown's the only running back who hasn't had more than hasn't had 10-yard run or something. Yeah, it's nightmare. The other bad game, because one of those teams, unfortunately, this is going to be first head coach fired, by the way. Potentially. Yes, Titans at Cardinals. Cardinals favored by 7.5. Me to go first. I want Cam Ward to win a game, but I've got to go Cardinals minus 7.5. They don't look great, but they look steady. They call good plays. They're quite aggressive now on defense. The offense looks pretty good on the ground. I know they're missing their running backs, but I still think they can scheme it up with Kyler Murray in the backfield. So I'll go Cardinals minus 7.5. But I'd like to see Cam Ward win a game, but I'm not sure it'll be here.
Well, if you want to see him win a game, we've got Arizona this week. Then it goes to the Raiders, home to the Patriots, on the road to the Colts. That's your next four. One of them looks winnable.
He'll beat the Raiders.
It looks winnable there. And the Patriots in Tennessee is not too daunting. But I've got to go Arizona this week. They look so disjointed. And now, Callahan, he must be the favourite for coach fired now. He's on my bulletin board. Now Daboll's got the win against the Chargers. It's probably not going to happen. So, and Callahan, they look terrible, don't they, Titans?
Yeah, they do. They're so bad to coach. So many flags. Many flags. I picked Shane Steichen. That's an absolute disaster pick. So there we go.
That's fun, yeah.
It might be last coach fired. The two good games then. First game, NFC, Bucks at the Seahawks. Seahawks coming off an impressive win last week, and the Bucks obviously coming off that loss, but I still think played pretty well with the injuries they had. Seahawks favored at home by 3.5 points. So getting a lot of respect from Vegas to get more than 3. Where are you at with these two teams? Are they, those? It feels like the Lions, everyone's up there. The Packers are up there. The Eagles are up there. The Rams, people seem to like. But NFC wise, are these like the next two teams for you that are kind of in that challenging, or do you think one of them maybe isn't as good as people think?
No, I think they are. I think they're in the next pack, but I don't think that Tampa Bay are as good as probably people thought at 3-0. To be honest, they got absolutely mauled in the first half last week against the Eagles. And then when you score 2 75-yard plus touchdowns, it's obviously great play calling as well. It's also fortuitous that there was a couple of terrible decisions made by a couple of rookies on the Eagles defense, and that game could look a little worse, to be honest. And yeah, I like the Bucs. They've had a few injuries, but I kind of like Seattle. Seattle just look like a well-drilled, pretty safe. They're not asking Sam Darnold, a bit like in Minnesota last year. They're not asking him to do too much. He's got his main guy. He's got Smith and Jigba. The run game, one of them is good one week, then they're terrible the next, but they always get a good game out of one of them. So I kind of like Seattle. I think they're a really solid football team. They feel like a team that probably loses by a touchdown on wild card weekend, but may make a fun game out of it.
Yeah, and Sam Darnold's playing well again as well.
Yeah.
Again, might not last all season, but he is playing well at this stage, like he did. This should be a fun game as well. Aggressive play callers, quarterbacks that love to rip it down the field. The Seahawks will probably run it a bit more and have a tempo, whereas the Bucs will probably throw it a lot more. But there'll be some big throws in this game. This will be a fun game. This will be good for Red Zone for people that are watching the next game we're going to talk about on Sky. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one as a neutral, and my team don't play till Monday, so I think this will be the one that I have on my second screen. So it should be a good game. Bucky Irving is out for the Bucs, which might mean a lot, to be honest, because Rashad White's good, but they're a good 1-2 pair, so I think that's a big loss for them. It's you to pick first, mate, on this one. Seahawks minus 3.5 is the line.
I'll go Tampa Bay to keep it close. I think Egbuka looks exceptional at times when Kenyon Mitchell's not locking him down, but apart from that, he looks great. I thought you'd like that one, to be honest with you. But I'll go Bucks. Keep it close. Think I might like Seattle just to edge it, but I'll go Bucks on the spread.
He had a good play last week for that touchdown, but he did my cardinal sin hate play in football, where he walked into the end zone backwards. It took like 10 seconds. They were losing by about 17 at that point. I was like, I know it's 5 seconds. We got to get the ball back. We don't want to be celebrating for 10 seconds. That's a rookie error. I think Baker's probably having a word with him for that one. I'm going to go Bucks as well. I do like the Seahawks, but the offensive line I still think shows weakness. And I think if they have a bad week from one of the running backs, like you said, one of them plays well, but if the head coach doesn't know who that is till halftime, the first half could look quite rough. So I'm going to go for the Bucks as well. I just think Baker could have a good game in this game. We've only got one difference, by the way, so far this week, which is poor from us. On to the big game. I think this must be the Sky game. If they've got Lions-Bengals over this, Lions-Bengals has to be the Channel 5 game. We've got Commanders at the Chargers with Jaden Daniels back to play this game. So we've got two very good elite quarterbacks. The Chargers are favored at home by 2.5 points. There'll be plenty of Washington fans in LA, I'm sure. There's a lot of West Coast Commanders fans from the 80s when they were obviously a very good football team. I think this should be really fun, mate. Two quarterbacks. Obviously, one played amazing last season. He's been out injured, so hopefully he looks healthy. Justin Herbert has had a great season, had his worst game last week, but he's also been hit like 26 times in 2 weeks. No Joe Alt, no Slater. So I think the Chargers offense will obviously look worse. But I still think if this becomes a bit of a shootout, you've got two people that are going to throw it, take hits, make big plays, and should be an exciting game for the neutrals at 9:25.
Yeah, as far as scale goes, this is also probably the biggest game of the week in terms of the Chargers let that lead slip. Obviously, the Chiefs back to 2-2 now. They let 4-0 go out the grass to one of the worst teams in football. It was a bad performance. As much as it's a great win for New York, it was a really, really bad performance overall. To go in and lose that game, good teams find a way to win those type of games. So for me, that must win for them. For me, Washington coming off a bad loss. I know it was Mariota, so we can't really say anything. But sometimes football teams have to win with their backups as well. And Atlanta are not a terrific football team. Washington at 2-2, you lose this one and the Eagles win, the division is going to be really difficult to win from there, to be honest with you. So as far as like a scale goes, for me, it's super important. Interesting to see how Daniels look. The first two starts this season, he didn't look great, by the way. So how healthy is he actually going to be when he comes back is the big question, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it, as well? Because was it knee strain, I think? And you're right, he didn't look great. He looked good on the ground, but he didn't look great through the air. And obviously, they're probably, I imagine, not going to run him as much as they did before, just with that injury. So you're right, I think. I'll be interested to see how he looks. I'll be interested to see if the offensive coaching staff for LA can stop Justin Herbert getting whacked 20 times. I know they're missing both tackles, but there are ways you can slow that down. And if that means a lower scoring game, you do run it a bit more, and that's frustrating. It's like, okay, but we also don't want to get Justin Herbert injured. So we do have to be a bit clever with our play calls, I think, if you're the Chargers. But this is an important game for both of them. Feels like with the Chargers injuries, the way Herbert played last week, they'll want to right the ship and stay ahead of the Chiefs and keep the momentum going. If you're the Commanders, you'll want your starting quarterback to come back. Like you said, win the game, stay in touch with Philly. If they lose or something, you stay in touch, or at least be up there with the wildcard teams. You don't want the season to get away from you. So I feel like this should be a fun game. Points total is 47.5 as well. So, Vegas is expecting some points in this one. It's me to go first as well. I am actually going to go Commanders plus 2.5. Sometimes you got to go for the score you want. For the Kansas City Chiefs could be winning the division in about 3 weeks, if I'm lucky. I'm going to go for Commanders plus 2.5. I really want Jaden Daniels to be good because we're losing a lot of quarterbacks for injury already this year, so we need him to be good, I think.
Yeah, let's have another difference. I'll go LA and we'll go for the score that we both want. So I'll go for the Chargers. For me, if the Chargers lose this game and Chiefs win Monday night, they will kick themselves that they let a couple of games lead slip already in week 5. They really will look back and regret of that. So must win for me for the Chargers, and I'll go them.
Yeah, agreed. On to Sunday Night Football then, an AFC East matchup with one of our 2 remaining undefeated teams. We have the Patriots at the Bills. Bills are favored at home by 7.5 points. Now, if I told you the best EPA per play offense was the Patriots, the best passing play EPA is the Patriots, the best third down EPA offense in the league is the Patriots, and the least off-target throws in the NFL is currently Drake May. Would you be surprised that their offense is that good after watching them be up and down?
I'd say what I'd say to that is I'd stop watching the Patriots and just follow the box scores, because when you watch it with your eyes, it doesn't look like that. Fine against Carolina last week, maybe. I mean, it's a toss-up for who's the worst team in football, isn't it? But yeah, after then, me and you saw that Pittsburgh game, or we saw the majority of it in America. I just, that for me is my eyes don't see the same as what I'm reading on the screen.
Yeah, they have got one of the worst run offenses in the NFL, which I think is on the screen. The fumbles, the 3rd and 1s that become 4th and 2s. I think you can see that with your eyes. Drake May's definitely playing very well behind a bad offensive line. So I'm hoping he can keep this game fun and keep it close. And, obviously I think he's a very good quarterback. And he does play a little bit like Josh Allen. So I'm hoping that this can be a fun, exciting game. But it sounds like I know where you would be going with the spread on this one. Any thoughts on this game before we pick it?
Every Buffalo game seems to be close, to be honest with you, until it's not at the end. But I don't know how good Buffalo are, to be honest with you. I'd be hard-pressed to say who was the best team in the NFL after 4 weeks. I think most people would choose Buffalo because maybe they had the most fun win in week 1. But apart from that, they've been wholly unimpressive beating the Jets, Dolphins, and Saints, by the way. They were pretty unimpressive last week.
I follow this page where it's got the top 20 power rankings, and it kind of collates them. Eagles are number 1 in every single list, basically. The Bills are number 2 on every single list. And the Lions are 3 in basically every single list now the Ravens have lost. So it feels like the consensus is they're the 3 best teams. But I'm not sure they are the 3 best teams, but I think your team's probably the best. But you're right. I think 2-3-5 is a bit of a mess.
No, I would completely agree with you. I think at times when the Eagles look to be themselves, they probably look like the kind of the juggernaut at the moment, because it's been a really tough schedule and it's 4-0. Going to Buffalo, don't know, it doesn't feel like this is a team where you go, Mahomes ain't going to want to go there in January this year, I can tell you that. It doesn't feel like that at all, but maybe that'll change as the season goes on. There is also kind of a playing down to competition, which is quite difficult to do. Maybe teams like Detroit don't really do that, kind of Philadelphia do, and maybe Buffalo are doing the same. Quite unimpressed, and the things that you think were the problem in Buffalo feel like that, where they don't have a number 1 weapon still. I know they get Khalil Shakir looks great, and obviously, James Cook's great out the backfield, but he's not an elite level at the wide receivers, and I think that's going to come down at the end of the season, and we'll be feeling that.
Yeah, me guessing that James Cook would keep up his touchdown luck this year, when everyone else was saying he wouldn't, has been my stroke of genius in fantasy, because everything else has gone Pete Tong. But having him and Ibuka have basically been the only saviors when it comes to fantasy football. But I think you're right with the Bills. If people are looking for them to play some more stiff competition, they're going to be waiting, because they've got this second easiest schedule remaining, I think, in the NFL still. I think it's just the Chiefs game is in week 8, which there'll be people saying, right, the Chiefs aren't as good as previous years, but that's probably the game, right? If they beat the Chiefs by 20 points, everyone will be like, oh, they are that good. But most of their other games are just dead easy.
I'm looking at it right now, and it's Chiefs, there's a Buccaneers game, and then there's an Eagles game just after Christmas. That is it. That really is it. Bengals.
They're going to be the 1 seed for sure.
Yeah. Oh, if they're not the 1 seed, then something's really bad has happened.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I think you're up, by the way, for the spread. Bills -7.5.
I'll go that. I think it'll be close all throughout the game, and probably Buffalo will pull away. So I'll just go Buffalo.
Maybe it's my 3.5-hour drive in the rain where I listened to 2 pods talking about the Patriots offense. I'm going to go for the Patriots. +7.5. Doesn't mean they have to win the game, but it means Drake may keep it close. So yeah, I'm going to go for the Patriots. Doesn't mean they win, but keep it close, boys. On to Monday Night Football then. I'm very biased, but this is probably the best game, isn't it? Or is this not the best game? Chiefs at Jags. What do you think?
And this is your Super Bowl. I don't know. It's a tough week. If this is the best game, it's a tough week.
You hate this week. Like I said, Chiefs at Jags. Chiefs are favored on the road by 3.5 points.
Yeah.
It's 3. It's been bet up to 3.5, which does not surprise me, after they shellacked the Ravens last week. I think this should be a fun game, but the Chiefs looked really good last week. They have had issues, obviously. The Jaguars look very good for certain drives, and then they are also the second most penalized team in the NFL. They have more false starts. These 2 teams combined have more false starts than the NFC combined. by the way, which is hilarious, between Jawan Taylor and the whole Jags offensive line, which is a complete disaster. So I don't know what we're going to get, mate. Are we going to get a fun, exciting Liam Cohen? By the way, we need to talk about the Salah issue last week. That was quite fun. Liam Cohen, I'm the best play caller in the NFL. I've got really good weapons. Okay, Mahomes magic. Or are we going to get a Monday Night Football stinker in front of Troy Aikman where someone just wins it at the end? Like, what do you think the vibe of the game is before you pick who's gonna win it?
The vibe's going to be set in the first quarter, because if Jacksonville can't get out and get an early lead and try and defend that, I don't see anything other than kind of a Chiefs just grind it out and probably stay ahead the whole game. On what you just said on the Salah and Liam Cohen thing, Liam Cohen did that really embarrassing thing where you pass someone point blank face and then wait till you get 10 yards away and there's 10 others in front of you to then have a go. So he went right down in my estimation then. To be honest with you, Robert Salah was there and then as a guy. So, yeah, he's gone down in my book there.
He's a lively head coach, though.
He is lively, which is what we need.
Yeah, but you reckon he's fake tough. He's not getting Andy Reid's face, is he? We know that. Come on. Big Red's not going to...
He's absolutely not.
Yeah, but what's the total? Yeah, this total is 46.5, so not as high as I thought. But I think this could be quite a high-scoring game. Another week for Xavier Worthy to get healthy. The Chiefs' offensive line's looking better as the weeks go on. And I think it's the defense, really. We were there for the start of it in that Giants game. The Chiefs' defense is playing really, really well. And the Jaguars' defensive line is playing really well. It feels like, boring as it is to say, with, maybe one of the best play callers on one side, Mahomes on the other, it feels like it could be how good is the defensive lines of these two teams. Because I think that's probably what killed Lamar Jackson last week, was how good the Chiefs' defensive line. And the Jaguars have got, 2 first-round picks and another second-round pick in their front four. So it feels like that may be where the game gets won and lost potentially.
Yeah, listen, it was a great win last week against San Francisco. They're not going to get 4 takeaways every week to win games against good football teams, and it's kind of proving that you can do that for me. Yeah, defensive line is great. Later on in the season, it'd be interesting to see whether Travis Hunter has had a good game anywhere, because he's not coming yet, and that looks a really expensive trade. But for me, the Chiefs' defense looks great. It looked great last week against a broken kind of Baltimore team. But, you have to go out there and perform. For me, the Jags are going on the variance of the takeaways at the minute, and that would always worry me, because that runs out. That look runs out. So it's balancing that in a football game where there's kind of none.
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence has got to play better for them if they want to take the next step. I think it's Trevor Lawrence, and I think it's both wide receivers, because they haven't played well as a pair. The running backs have been amazing, by the way, and they'll probably be amazing.
Travis Etienne, by the way, where's he come from? He's pretty much top of yardage in the NFL.
Yeah, and they'll probably be good this week, but the wide receivers have got to play better, and I think Trevor Lawrence has got to play better, because, Liam Cohen screaming at him every game on the sideline. But, I'm excited for this game. I really wish it was 9:25 on a Sunday, not me staying up till 4:30 on a Monday night, but there we go.
It feels like a 9:25 Sunday, to be honest with you. It feels like that kind of vibe, and maybe a Chargers Commanders should have been Monday Night Football.
Let's flex it last minute, just for me. I think it's me to go first. I am obviously going to pick the Chiefs. I would have preferred 3. Not going to lie. Because it does feel like a game that could go down to maybe Chiefs are up by 10, Jaguars score a touchdown at the end, go for the onside, don't get it sort of vibe. But I'll go for the Chiefs minus 3.5. I'm pretty optimistic of how they played last week, so I'll keep rolling with them.
I'm defo going the Chiefs. 3-1 Jacksonville. It's a great record. Certainly don't think it's anywhere near a great football team. So I'm going to go the Chiefs.
You're way more confident than me, which I like.
I am. Yeah, I feel like the defense will play really well, and the offense will definitely do enough.
Yeah, cool. And that's it for week 5. We're in winter buys, so we've got less games to talk about. But we have got plenty of London games coming up in the next couple of weeks for us to keep breaking down. So like I mentioned earlier, we'll be back early next week to break all these games down, do our first review pod in a few weeks. And then we'll be back to preview week 6, which has got a much better slate of games, some really good games looking ahead to next week. You can go follow us at GoFor2Pod on Twitter/X, and you can go follow Patrick as well at MugsNFL to get any of your Cooper Rush Ravens gear. But everyone enjoy the weekend, and we will speak to you soon.
I'll speak to you soon, everyone.